Hey, third grade, ready for your art lesson with your friendly neighborhood art teacher? Your expedition this semester had to do with Peter Pan and exploring Neverland. Your guiding questions were, how do writers capture a reader's imagination? How can I create a solution to a problem that a library character might encounter? How can the lessons learned from fictional texts transform society? Your learning targets. I can identify the background, the middle ground, and the foreground in pictures, and I can brainstorm my idea for my Peter Pan background. You're going to need paper, lined paper or printing paper is just fine, pencil and eraser, and coloring supplies. You can use crayons, color pencils, or markers. Remember, you're going to be filling the entire page when you work on this. So once you start to draw big. Let's take a few minutes and we're going to look at some examples of actual scenes, either from plays or books or even movies from Peter Pan. This will give you a good idea of the settings and things that we would see or work on with our drawings. Because remember, we're working on actual places from Peter Pan, not any of the ones that we created for our Neverland. So here we've got some examples of the play's settings for the darling's bedroom or the nursery. One of the things that's pretty obvious you want to have in the nursery are beds. That's where the children were sleeping. And it's usually pretty clear that they have a big window because that's where Peter comes in and out. Other things that you see between them, in one you can see Nana's house, and another one you can see a fireplace. Another thing you might want to add would be the dresser, where he has to go get his shadow. You can always add toys, since this is a couple of kids' bedroom. Next, we've got another pretty popular one, and that's the Jolly Roger. So this is a pirate ship. Usually, when we see a scene that's on the pirate ship, we'll be on the deck of the pirate ship. The deck is where you get to walk around. If you are doing a scene on the pirate ship, but all we see is a tiny pirate ship in the distance, it kind of doesn't make sense because it'll make it look like you're standing on the water. So these are some really good examples of the decks of the pirate ship. You can see the one on top is a very ornate kind of one for some pirates. And the one on the bottom is a little bit more common. Now, when you look at these pictures, I want you to try and figure out where is the background, what's in the middle, and what's in the foreground. We'll look through them again. Here's some examples of the Lost Boys' home. We've done them before. We talked about how the Lost Boys kind of live in the cave underneath a big tree, underneath the tree roots. So the one up top has got some really complicated parts to it. Even says Lost Boys and shows a lot of fortifications around their entrance. The one on the bottom shows you more of the actual cave, and it kind of has a cutaway so you can see where the tree roots are. The next one that I have for you is Wendy's house. Both of these are scenes from a play. You can see that there's people in both of them. The background is just the forest. Wendy's house would be in the middle ground, and usually the actors would sit in the foreground. And then just a nice big picture of Neverland itself. We're going to go back. We're going to look at some of these. Let's start off here at the Darling's house. Looking at both of these, what do you think is in the background? I'm thinking, or I'm going to tell you, that it is the windows. The windows and the walls are the background. The beds would be in the middle ground, and anything that's closer to the viewer, like maybe a person, would be standing in the foreground. Not all of these pictures will have things in the foreground. Sometimes it's just the background and the middle ground. when we're looking at this ship up here, you can see that the ocean and the sky are the background. They're all the way in the back. Then parts of the ship, the railing to help keep you from falling into the ocean, is usually in the middle ground. And the mast, which is the tall piece of wood that the ship's sail hangs off of, would probably be what we consider the foreground. It's in the front. It overlaps everything else. So we're going to look at the bottom picture for these Lost Boys homes. The Lost Boys homes in the bottom, the very background, are the trees and the forest that's on top of the cave. The middle ground are the trees and the roots, and the foreground is most of the actual house down at the bottom. We kind of went over this one already. The background is the forest behind her. The middle ground is her house. And the foreground would be any place that the people want to stand because you want to be able to see them. And this is a great example that has a lot of background, foreground, and middle ground. Peter himself is in the foreground. He is up front. The ship is in the middle ground, and so is that first cave with the big skull. But the rest of the island is in the background. Now, let's take a look at my example. I drew Mermaid's Lagoon, and I'm going to show you how I drew it. The background is the mountain and the sky. The middle ground is going to be the lagoon and the mermaids. And the foreground are the two rocks that they'd have to go through to get in to Mermaid's Lagoon. So, to show you how I drew this, first, I'll take that out so I don't go. First, I figured out where I wanted my line to start, the line across, and I drew one line across. So this is going to become, in some places, the beach and the forest. So this is going to be my middle ground. Then I worked on drawing the mountain. And since this is my mountain, I made it kind of big and broad, and I'm going to come back over here and fix part of that because I want this mountain to come up and all the way to the top. Much better. So here's the background. Let's work on jumping up to the front. We're going to work on these parts right here, the rocks that lead into it. Watch. I'm going to start, and I'm going to draw some down, and I'm going to draw the lines for the ocean. But what do I need to do about these right here? I'm going to have to erase them because you wouldn't see them. And now there is a certain degree of overlapping. This is clearly in front because this, you can't see through it. I'll do the same thing on this side. And we'll erase those lines right there. Now, it looks like there's two great big rocks and one great big rock back here, but I still need to make this look like it's a lot bigger. So I'm going to draw the mermaid's rock, but it's not going to be as big as these two because it's farther back. Then I'm going to erase a little bit of that line there. And the last part I'm going to add to make this show some detail and some depth is the forest in the back. So I add some bumpy lines to make it clear there's a forest or some trees back there, on this dark line. Can add some clouds in the sky. Can add some more parts to the mountain. Can add. Now, if you're going to put people in a picture, don't put them in the front. We don't want them to be the center of attention. We want the whole thing to be part of it. So, since the mermaids are here to show you that it's Mermaid's Rock, I'm going to draw, you know, just one or two mermaids in. There she is. She's waving at us. And have her tail sticking out. Yay! And then I can draw one more mermaid who just jumped into the water. And little splashes coming up for that. Let's say that you want to do something that's a little bit different. I know at least one person was telling me about how they were going to do Tiger Lily's village. So I'm going to start Tiger Lily's village by making large campfire in the middle, because they would need a campfire for lots of reasons. To be able to see at night, to be able to cook food, to be able to have, well, light, like I said. But now around it, I'm going to add some parts. And now we know this is behind everything because there's a little bit of overlap there. But if I want to make even more of an overlap, I'm going to draw the back of a house. And I'm going to draw it, make it look like we're looking over it. And I can do the same thing on this side and make it look like there's a ring of them, or a circle of them around it. I can draw some more. And I can draw, there's like maybe a path that goes around. And maybe there's a mountain in the background, making sure that it doesn't go through anything. So, your task today is to brainstorm your picture for your background. Write one or two sentences about it. Maybe, I want to do Mermaid's Lagoon because I think mermaids are fun, or I want to draw Tiger Lily's village because I think Tiger Lily's really cool. I want to draw the pirate ship because I love pirates. What are you going to do? Then draw just the background. Don't color yet. I don't want y'all to work on coloring things just yet. Figure out where the middle ground, the background, and the foreground are going to be, and do the sketch for your background. Try and keep track of all your artwork. It will be helpful in the future, especially since you're going to need this picture again. If you have any questions, you can email me at afranz@amanaacademy.org. You can submit your artwork on that Google folder listed there, but that will also be under the links for this video. So you can't click on my video, but you can click on the link. Alright, they're great. I'll see you guys later.